The other day I read an old entry journal I wrote 5 years ago, and this is somewhat relevant for us because we have a number of parents of our first Holy Communicants here. And it goes like this. Theology conversation between me and my 7-year-old last night as I was half asleep dozing off. He said, "I'm sorry I spilled my fruit punch at Taco Bell. My brother pushed my arm." I said, "And that's why it's an accident. But if you consented, then you would be in trouble." He said, "I know, yes." I then said, "That's why your will is very important. Love is in the will, just like sin is in the will, and we must always love God." He said, "So love is God's will?" I said, "Yes, God is love. And just like in the movie Finding Nemo, when Marlin the clownfish looked all over the ocean for his son Nemo, so God's love will always search for us." He said, "Like the prodigal son?" I said, "Yes. And we must always choose God in our will. We must always avoid sin." He said, "Okay." I then said, "God is all that matters. Nothing else matters. Not our money, not our house, not our cars. Only God matters. Everything else will fade away. Good night, I love you." And then he said, "I love you too." The one theme in this story for me to emphasize is that love is in the will. This leads us to today's gospel, where Jesus gave us a new commandment. Jesus said, "Love one another as I love you." This one sentence forms the two main points of our reflection this morning. The first main point is love one another, and the second main point is as I have loved you. Let's go to the first part of that sentence. Love one another. Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI wrote in his encyclical letter, Deus Caritas Est, God is love, that by acknowledging the centrality of love, the Christian faith has retained the core of Israel's faith, while at the same time giving it new depth and breadth. When Jesus said in the first part of that sentence, love one another, he summarized all the Old Testament commandments. As the second reading from the first letter of John says, everyone who loves God and who knows God, and whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. St. Thomas Aquinas defined love in this way: to will the good of another. To will the good of another. Here, love is action that begins in the heart. It is a human choice. Love is not just a feeling or an emotion that comes and goes. Love is a decision for good or evil. And notice that love is concerned more and more with the good of the beloved, the good of the other. Love wants the beloved to be and to be fully. It doesn't just focus on me, myself, and I. Rather, it takes us outside ourselves and desire what is good, true, and beautiful for the beloved. This leads to the second main part. As I have loved you. So how should we love as Christians? The model for love is not human love and human wisdom, but the standard is divine love and divine wisdom. Jesus doesn't just say, love one another, period, end of sentence. Instead, Jesus says, love one another how as I have loved you. The true standard for love is Jesus himself. And how did Jesus set the standard for us to follow? He gave himself all the way to the cross until it hurt. Love each other as I have loved you, like this. We are to love the way Jesus loved, and we are reminded of this in the crucifix. True love requires sacrifice. There are some somewhat silly bumper stickers that say, my religion is tolerance, or my religion is coexistence. These stickers are worldly wisdom. Of course, tolerance and coexistence are important, but toleration and coexistence means the choosing of the lesser evils, the lesser of two evils. It's minimum standards. The standard of love, on the other hand, is not some worldly bumper sticker or even in a book or ideas, but our religion, our standard is a person, a living person to be encountered especially in the sacraments and at Mass. Jesus Christ, who is God's love in the flesh. When two people meet each other and they fall in love with each other, do they say to each other, I tolerate you. I want to coexist with you. Will you marry me? No, they say, I love you with all my heart. Will you marry me? Love wills the ultimate good of the other. We want the ultimate good of the other in heaven. We don't want them to just back into heaven or accidentally end up in heaven. We want them to love each other. And we do this best, especially us First Communion parents, by introducing our children to the sacraments. The most important day after their First Communion is their second communion, and their third communion, and their fourth communion. When we are in love with Jesus, we keep his commandments. When love is in our hearts, all the rules and requirements of being Catholic, going to Mass and the sacraments, or church laws about marriage, all of these are not a burden when our hearts are filled with love. The commandments bring joy to the heart and ultimate happiness. Jesus said we are his friends if we do what he commands. Love freely wants to live in friendship and grace with God. But we can't do that by ourselves on our own power. We need help. And that's what the Holy Eucharist is for. The Eucharist that we will receive in a few minutes will give us the strength and grace to love as Jesus did. So in summary, we meditated on two parts of love one another as I have loved you. Let us ask Our Lady, our Mama Mary, for help to follow Jesus. O Mary, Mother of Jesus and our Mother, you who stood at the foot of the cross, teach us to know and love Jesus so that we too can be capable of true love. Help us to follow Jesus' commandment to love one another as he has loved us. Amen.